Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. Now today we have another gaming mouse showdown, and we're going down to an even lower price point. We're going to be putting up the Logitech G402 Hyperion Fury. Sucker right here. We're going to be putting it up against TTeSports Black gaming mouse. So these are both New Zealand money around the $70 mark, but they often go on special for around 50 New Zealand dollars. Obviously it's different but, depending on where you live. It might be cheaper or more expensive, but it's around the cheap end gaming mouse price point. So that's obviously going to get a lot of attention from people to see if they're actually good or not. Now, you may have noted we've already covered the G502, so it'll be interesting going down to the G402 and seeing how that performs. And we'll start with the Logitech G402 Hyperion Fury. Now that name always makes me think of StarCraft with Jim Raynor's ship as the Hyperion, so yeah, it just makes me think of that every time. Anyways, let's go through the key specs on this guy. So it's got a 4000 dpi sensor. Both of these have a 4000 dpi sensor. 1000 Hz polling rate. 8 programmable buttons, which is good to see. It comes in at 136 millimeters long, 72 millimeters wide, and 41 millimeters tall. So that's nice. It's decent specs. And it's at 108 grams, which makes it really lightweight, very much on the low end in terms of weight. So let's jump straight into it and talk about the looks of this guy. So personally, looks aren't a big deal to me. I'd rather know how it actually works and what it does, but looks mean a lot to other people. So I'd say this one is a very simple design, very simplistic look. It's kind of like a more basic version of the G502. And obviously a lot more simple than the TTeSports Black, as I'll show you a bit later. It has the pulsing Logitech G on the back, which is nice, and the DPI settings also light up when you adjust it. Other than that, I mean, as you can see, it's a more basic looking gaming mouse out there. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's just fine. Some people like to have a more fancy looking gaming mouse to like show off to people, like look how cool my setup is. But personally, I think this one's just fine. Now, comfort. So this is a big one. So obviously you want something comfortable so you can game for hours on it and not have wrist trouble, anything like that. And I get wrist problems really easily these days. I played way too much StarCraft back in the day, so my wrists are a little bit destroyed from that. So I really do notice it if the gaming mouse is uncomfortable or anything like that. And this one wasn't like that at all. It was super comfortable. It's very ergonomic, the design. It's just so easy to grip. It's just really, really nice. Really, really comfortable. The button placement is generally pretty good. I'll talk about that a bit in a minute. But yeah, it's kind of hovers around your thumb, more on left-hand side. Obviously, neither of these mouses are ambidextrous. They're all just right-handed. I suppose you could try use them left-handed if you really wanted to, but I would not recommend it. So yeah, so the sides are rubberized as well, but it's quite plasticky on top, so it has a bit more of that plasticky type feel. But I mean, this is the low-end gaming mouse market, so that is to be expected. Now, accuracy and sensitivity. So, as I said before, both of these are running 4000 DPI or CPI sensors, depending on how you want to call it. So there's not much difference there. This one was very good. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Being 4000 DPI, I always had to run it on the highest setting, or else it felt too sluggish and not sensitive enough, unresponsive, unless I was running it on the highest setting. That's just me personally. Obviously, everyone likes different sensitivity settings, but that was just me. So I ran it on the highest setting all the time. But yeah, it didn't feel inaccurate and it felt good. That goes for both of them because they have the same style sensor. And yeah, it just felt really good. Now, buttons and scroll wheels. So, the buttons in general were really, really good. I thought the one thing they did wrong, and this is my main vice with this mouse, is they put the DPI adjustment buttons, these ones right here, they put them very close to the right click, and often sometimes you'll in the heat of a game or something like that, you might accidentally end up hitting the DPI button instead of the left click button. So I thought that was a bit strange, and there's all this room down the middle, so it makes me wonder why they didn't copy something like the TTeSports Black, which we'll look at next, and put the DPI adjustment buttons in the middle and get them out of the way, because it was a bit annoying, and it's not like, you know, I guess it's on the fly, so you could do it like that, and that might be useful to some people, but for me personally it wasn't. So yeah, I thought that was a bit strange having them there. I'd rather them placed somewhere else. Aside from that, the rest of the buttons felt fantastic. Everything else was really good. It has the snipe button on the side here, which basically lowers the sensitivity when you're playing first-person shooter games. You could use in other games too if you want. Just drops the sensitivity down, so when using sniper rifles and stuff like that, you can make more accurate shots. And it had these two buttons back here as well, which you can use for web browsing and stuff like that to go back and forward between pages, which is also nice to see. So the buttons generally pretty good, and the main two buttons were yeah, good as well. So good all round, just a bit funny with the DPI buttons being where they are. The other thing is the scroll wheel. Now this was fantastic. It was just everything it should be. Rubber, nice to grip, easy, perfect. They should have put that scroll wheel in G402, because that was the one thing I didn't like about the G402. So weird that they didn't just take this one over. Anyways, so that's the buttons done. Now additional features. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the software between them because they both have their own ones and it'll drag on forever, and a lot of you guys probably aren't even going to use the software anyway. So we're just going to say that it does come with software. Both of them come with software, so we'll just leave it at that. It doesn't come with a braided cable like the TTeSports. So no braided cable, and the USB is not gold plated. So those, you know, so they're obviously skimped a little bit there, save money and put it into other things. Yeah, so it just gives it meh. It doesn't really do that much. In all honesty, I don't really care that much, but some people might, so it's worth saying anyways. Now that we're done with that, let's move on. Put these out of the way. Let's move on to the TTeSports Black. So let's go through the specs real quick. So this guy's coming in with also a 4000 DPI sensor, a Vago sensor. It has 6 buttons to the 8 of the Logitech. Dimensions wise, it's coming in at 120, so slightly shorter, 70 mils wide, 120 mils long I should say, 70 mils wide. So it is actually slightly thinner, but we'll get to that just in a minute. And it's 40 millimeters tall, so they're about as tall as each other. Now I looked around to try to find the actual weight on this thing everywhere, and I couldn't find it. So if you can, please leave it in the comments below for everybody, because I couldn't. Or maybe I was just looking in the wrong places, but I was looking at their official site and things like that, and I couldn't find it. So yeah, so there's that braided cable and gold-plated USB, which we just talked about. This guy has it, so that's good to see. Now, looks. Now this thing looks pretty serious by comparison. It looks like a lot more of a serious gaming mouse. It has a black rubber on top and on the sides, and a more textured rubber on the left-hand side here, which is good to see. So it does really look a lot more serious. There's a pulsing TTeSports logo in red at the back, and also the DPI sensors light up on the back here, and the scroll wheel lights up. So it looks a lot more serious, a lot more badass, I suppose you'd put it, a little bit, but not by a huge amount. It's pretty much, you know, it's a very similar stuff. It's, well, I mean, these more cheaper, more basic, I should say, gaming mouses, they don't look as serious as some of the higher end ones, and rightfully so. So, to comfort. Now, this was a really fat feeling gaming mouse. Now, hang on a minute, I just said that it's actually thinner than the G402, and that is correct. It is thinner, but if you look, the G402 has cutouts on the side, like they go in quite deep on both sides. So although it is technically fatter because it kind of comes out quite wide at the base here, it is cut out, so it doesn't feel wide at all, and technically where your hands go, it isn't that wide. This one doesn't have, the TTeSports doesn't have the cutout, so it's just a really fat feeling mouse. It doesn't feel ergonomic at all. It doesn't feel comfortable to use. So I was really disappointed with that, and it just didn't feel comfortable. Simple as that. I didn't like it. Comfort wise, it made my wrist sore. So even just after a few hours of gaming, you know, or less than that, it was not comfortable. However, it does have a lot of rubber on it, especially on the sides and that. Very easy to grip. So that's the one thing it has going for it. And the other thing is that it has adjustable weights. This is one of the big features it has over the G402. So it's adjustable weights. From standard, it feels a little bit on the heavy side. But you can take these weights out, maybe take 1 or 2 out, and then it'll drop the weight down a little bit. Then it'll feel a bit better to use. That's just me. You might like it just with the weight how it is. Sorry I couldn't actually find where it is, but I'm sure somebody will be able to find out. These weights are all 4.5 grams each, so you're not going to get a whole heap of change, but you know, if you took all of them out, you might see something a bit different, have a bit different of a feel. Now, accuracy. So, similar sensor, well, you know, same DPI, so I had to run this one as well on max, or else it would feel too sluggish. Pretty much exactly what I said with the G402. I can't give this one either way. They both feel decent and about as good as each other. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just both really good. Good sensors if you set them to max. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. They're just the same as each other. Now, buttons and scroll wheel. So, the scroll wheel is good. They both actually have really decent scroll wheels. Nice grip, not too hard, not too soft. The TTeSports one is maybe a little bit stiffer than the G402's, but not too much. You only really notice it if you use both of them back to back, like I did, but otherwise, yeah, you'd get used to it, so that's pretty good. Button placement is good. Nothing gets in the way, so that's really nice to see. As I said before, the G402 had that one issue where the TTeSports, they put the Dpi Adjust in the center, which is a lot better place for them. Then they don't get in the way. However, the TTeSports fails in one key area, which is the right and left click. So as much as it makes up for in other areas, it does not have a snipe button, by the way, like the 402 does, but it has these front and back click buttons, which you can use. The actual left and mouse click buttons I thought were dreadful. They feel really spongy to use, there's too much travel, and they start out quite fat at the back of the mouse, and they get really skinny towards the front, and they just felt way too thin for some reason. Maybe it's my kind of like more claw type grip on mouses, but it just felt really skinny, and like they should have made them wider considering how fat the back of the mouse is. The front is actually quite thin, so you know, that wasn't good, and that was a big detriment about it, and that was about the only thing wrong with the buttons on this, is that they were just really spongy, the right and left click buttons, and they were too thin at the front. Now, we've talked about the additional features already, where we touched on them. So braided cable, which is nice, the adjustable weights, and of course gold-plated USB. So a bit more premium than the G402 in that sense. You know, just I guess you're getting a little bit more for your money in that area. And that's going to basically round out the TTeSports Black gaming mouse. Now, in conclusion, which one of these... Oh, let me grab them. Which one of these wins? Well, what wins this Tech Showdown? It's got to be the G402. It's just a more simple design. It has less features overall, which is a bit of a detriment. I mean, yeah, the TTeSports definitely has more features, but it's just a fantastic gaming mouse. I mean, the DPI sensors were the only things that were annoying, and because of their placement. But aside from that, it was super comfortable. They both have good sensors, so that doesn't go either way. But the scroll wheel is great, and the rest of the buttons are really good, and overall the mouse is just really, really good. The TTeSports was just okay. The sensor, as I said before, is just as good as the G402, so there's not much difference there. The adjustable weights are good. You know, that's going to obviously help for some people and be an additional feature that you don't get with the 402. Aside from that, though, it was, you know, they screwed up on the basics. It was uncomfortable, not ergonomic. It just felt too fat in the back, and the left and right mouse buttons were terrible. So overall, got to give it to the Logitech G402 for a fantastic low-end gaming mouse that I would recommend personally to anybody. No matter what kind of games you're playing. I played this with Payday, I played this with League, it was just fine. It's just a great, great gaming mouse, and much better than the TTeSports Black. However, as always with peripherals, it's up to personal taste, and everybody has a different opinion, and everyone, you know, likes different things, so you have to keep that in mind. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thank you for watching Tech Showdown, like always, and I'll see you guys next time.